What is up, everybody? It's your boy JD Legend back again, bringing you guys and gals another top 10 video to let you guys know a little bit more about me. And today we're gonna be talking about my personal, subjective, borderline objective top 10 arcs of all time in anime and manga history. And ladies and gentlemen, there are going to be some arcs that are off this list. A lot of people are still crashing out over One Piece being my 9 in my top 10. That is subject to change, possibly, with Elbaf going pretty well. But guys, there's some arcs in here that you're gonna be surprised not in there. Like, for example, I don't have any Naruto arcs in here. When you think about Sasuke's retrieval, when you're thinking about the Pain arc, there's a lot of things that I loved about those arcs. But when it comes to how I'm scaling this here, like the things that really mean a lot to me when it comes to grading arcs, and it was a hard thing to do at the moment. But when I'm talking about like the build up to the climax, I'm talking about the characters, compelling characters. I'm talking about payoff, compelling subplots, emotional moments, and then iconic moments that are just genuinely enjoyable as well. So when you're talking about like the crazy aura farming moments, right? Like these are the things that I normally consider when I made this list. So just some honorable mentions to kind of let you guys know where I'm thinking about, like Alma Turan from Magi, right? Like if you guys have read Magi, that arc was incredible. You've got Cooking Festival with Toriko. I've got Shibuya Incident in JJK, Hidden Inventory, the Ball Boy arc in IQ. Like there's a lot of interesting stuff in here that has been left out. I don't have Soul Society on here. As much of a Bleach fan I am, I don't have Soul Society here, which is crazy. Again, everyone's like, yo, what is on this list? Well, again, you're gonna know a little bit more about me as I explain to you what is in my top 10. And let's start off with number 10. My number 10 is Sato versus Inashiro in Ace of Diamond. And if you guys have watched Ace of Diamond, you know what this match is. You know this is the match where Saramore really takes the stage. You know this is the match where you really understand the true beauty of Ace of Diamond, because the build up to Sato facing their longtime rivals, they're basically facing the Patrick Mahomes of pitchers. They're basically facing the Monstars, the Globetrotters, the Galacticos of West Tokyo baseball, right? These guys, they got all ballers. They build up all their ball. You got Carlos and Yamoka, and you got Naramiya, and you got all these ballers here. Harada-san, right? And then you've got Sato, who they have these seniors, and they've built up so much effort and training and had so many wins to get to the finals before they go to nationals. And there's so much pressure surrounded in this match because they lost to them last year. So this is a grudge match, but this is also a match of the best schools that will most likely represent the nationals for Tokyo. And the buildup is incredible. The buildup for Saramore is incredible. The buildup for the seniors on the team is incredible. And once you get into the environment, from the moment the game starts to the very end, you're at the edge of your seat. There is a pressure cooker. I mean, you got crowd cheers. You got specific crowd cheers for certain players that get you excited. Every pitch, every moment means something. Every mistake means something. Every at-bat is a high-pressure situation. And it's so good. And the way it ends is just so impactful, and it's so compelling that you feel every single emotion throughout that entire match, and the rewatchability is astronomical. So I had to put Sato versus Inashiro here just because it's one of those matches that really defines Ace of Diamond. And like, I can never get it out of my memory. It is to this day one of my favorite rewatches of all time is watching this arc. And to follow in the spirit of sports anime, my number 9 is also from another sports anime. Now, I consider this the best fight I've ever seen, and there's a lot of great fights where you have Netero versus Meruem, and Rob Lucci versus Luffy, but in terms of an arc, Brian Hawk versus Takamura from Hajime no Ippo. To describe to you the amount of emotional buildup that comes in from this world title match is astronomical. Like, I don't even want to say too much to spoil because I really want you guys to personally experience it. I mean, my brother, there's a whole movie. There's a whole, on YouTube, there's like an hour-long video that just has the entire fight. And learning about Takamura, learning about his past, learning about how Brian Hawk, who is this American middleweight boxer, supernatural but super toxic, super disgusting, doesn't care about nothing, disrespects the whole nation of Japan. Takamura, now it goes beyond a world title fight for Takamura. It goes to Takamura as representing the nation of Japan against this American freak, this absolute freak. And I'm talking freak at every level, freak athletically, freak mentally, freak everything. He's a fan. And the way that fight goes, the the climax, the pop-off, the iconic moments. I don't want to even share with y'all what happens because, brother, let's just say Takamura snaps. And the way he snaps and the way he starts throwing hands, you just be like, listen, if you're just here for hands, if you only want to fight that's just pure, unadulterated, unfiltered hands, Brian Hawk versus Takamura, that's your meal. It'll satisfy you for years. It's a fantastic feast. Best fight I've ever seen. I love it. It's not even hyperbole to me. I love it. But on to number 8, where we're starting to get into, you know, the real ballers here. And that's the prologue for Vinland Saga. That is the first 25 episodes of Vinland Saga, and like I think it's like the first volume of Vinland Saga as well, where you start off with young Thorfinn and what happens to his father, and you're traveling with Askeladd. And I've mentioned that Askeladd is in my top 10 characters of all time because what goes on in this arc is it's a beautiful expose of the human nature, especially in warring times. And I think what I love the most is about Thorfinn's transformation from boy to revengeful, angry, bloodlusty teen to experiencing the result of his own bloodlust and the failing of his own bloodlust and then the failing of his own revenge, and the growth of the character Askeladd into seeing who he truly was from the very beginning, and seeing how the mastery of the writing of this character and consequences and warfare and the cruel, harsh, violent, disgusting world that we live in, and how no matter what it is you want to do, sometimes you just do not win. Sometimes you are just a consequence of someone else's actions that just had the ability to carry out those consequences more than the ability you had to deny them. It was the perfect setup for the way the story goes on afterwards when you get into the farmland saga. Because if there's one thing that I truly love, is like I love facing the real world. I love stories that really show you the real world, and it's almost harsh in a way because sometimes we can live in a protected bubble. Sometimes we can be sheltered, right? And there's a lot of people that are living in less fortunate parts of the world that struggle with a lot of things we never even can imagine what it's like to go through. So sometimes it's their stories. Sometimes it's these stories that allow you to feel grateful for where you're in and to take advantage and to appreciate what you have in this moment, because it could all change in an instant. And the prologue for Vinland Saga is basically an experience of that, where you're living a nice, peaceful village life and everything changes in front of you. And for me, who can't relate to that, imagine how someone else who's living in other areas, like imagine someone who's living in Palestine right now, people that are living in Lebanon, the Middle East, and then in Ukraine and all kinds of other war-torn areas. Imagine how their life is so uprooted and the things that they have to go through and the things that they have to see. The prologue shows you that, and that stuff is so impactful to me, and this stuff means something to me, man. So I was like, bro, and it's crazy that it's number 8, but it's like, bro, the prologue to Vinland Saga was incredible. Man, I gotta rewatch that. Number 7, One Piece fans are gonna be happy. Enies Lobby and Water 7 is my number 7. Ironically, Water 7, like Eureka 7. Anyway, it's a Pink Fiction arc. Like, pre-time skip One Piece to me is flawless. There are flaws, but the way I remember it as like a 10 out of 10. And Enies Lobby is one of the hallmarks of that. From the betrayal of Nico Robin to the reveal of CP9 to seeing the flashback with Tom, Usopp's arc, Usopp versus Luffy, Sanji getting onto the sea train and trying to retrieve Robin back, to Nami's speech to Zoro and Luffy, to Paulie and the Carpenters and Iceberg, and then you get into Enies Lobby where you have to see Luffy's first real upgrade, right? The iconic moment of Gear 2 to me, which is still the most iconic Luffy moment. I know people say Gear 5. I'm telling you, Luffy turning Gear 2 is the most iconic moment in One Piece. I will stand on that hill. There is nothing that makes me more excited than seeing Luffy put his fist down and his legs start pumping and that pink aura flows and that steam comes out, and then it's the jet pistol and you're like, wait a minute, where was this? And then you have the best fight in the series. You have Rob Lucci versus Luffy, the best jet Gatling of all time. Luffy's laying down, he screams, Robin! And it was like, it's time to go home, and Robin's crying and everyone's like, ah! And then Robin's like, I want to live, and you're like, save Robin. And he's like, yo, Soge King, shoot the flag. And he's like, yes, boss. He shoots the flag, and everyone's ore farming, and it's just a meal. Sanji, Diabo Jambe, Zoro, Ashura, like, brother. The more I talk about it, the more hype I get. And then Mary, and then, it might be too low. It might be too low. If you guys feel it's too low, I get it, because I got way too excited. But you gonna understand why I have this as 7, because number 6 is another arc that gets me emotional and gets me in my bag, and that's York New. That's York New. York New in Hunter x Hunter is such a strong arc for me, because the focus on Kurapika and his struggle with vengeance is so fascinating to watch. And if you have not done this already, I'm gonna make a video on this. If you have not read Volume 0 of Hunter x Hunter, of Kurapika's backstory, I implore that you read that first and then read York New or watch York New, because it puts his anger and vengeance, it makes it so much more ferocious that you're almost shocked that he's even able to hold himself back. Because the things that they did is vile. It's disgusting. So you're coming into Kurapika trying to retrieve his eyes, right? His clan's eyes. And the world building of the underworld, the mafia world in Hunter x Hunter, was fascinating to see, right? You have the dynamic between Hisoka and Kurapika, and then you're introduced to the Phantom Troop for the first time. And it's like, you know how everyone loves the Akatsuki. It's like seeing the Akatsuki, but seeing them a more unique family dynamic with a bunch of depraved sociopaths at the same time. But they're almost not sociopaths, because the way they interact with each other is, you can tell they genuinely care about each other. But these are one of the worst murderers the world has ever seen. These guys steal, they destroy, they murder, they desecrate people, villages, areas, and he steals sacred treasures, all for the sake of themselves. And as you explore the mindset and the psychology of Crollo, as you explore the mindset and psychology of Nobunaga and Uvogin and Machi and like Shaonark and Pakunoda, like, bro, all of these guys are just so compelling and interesting to see. And seeing Hisoka basically be a double agent within there only to fight Crollo, and the suspense of like Gon and Killua trying to find copies of Green Island, and then being involved in it because all of a sudden the Phantom Troop attacked the auction where Kurapika is supposed to be monitoring to retrieve his eyes. Then the Phantom Troop appeared before him. Now he's got beef because he's seeing Uvogin, and then you get to the crazy moments of Uvogin basically destroying the Shadow Piece by spitting teeth and screaming in their ears and yelling, and I'm like, this guy's so cracked. How are they supposed to stop him? They got Blackbeard's voice actor. Then you get Kurapika versus Uvogin, the shovel, the Nen expose. Like, we really learn about Nen, especially in this arc, and the versatility of Nen. And then you get Crollo versus the Zoldyx, and you get the Zoldyx aura farming. And then one of the most iconic moments in anime, that Uvogin's Requiem, where the Phantom Troop mourn the death of Uvogin, and they rain hell on the auction, on the main mafia auction. They rain hell, and it's just the OSTs, the music, the soundtracks. You just get so invested and immersed in everything. And then the main takeaway of Crollo believing the Phantom Troop are one way, but then him realizing that, no, these guys care about me more than I thought, but I thought I trained them in another way. And Pakunoda, such an impactful character, and Kurapika's struggle with vengeance and the flip-flopping of, are they dead, are they alive, and then having to make a decision between his vengeance and his friends. And it's a beautiful arc. It's a really strong arc, man. And I know I just crashed out over Enies Lobby, and I've crashed out over York New, and I know I was so excited about it, but like, there's something about the raw grittiness of York New that really impacted me a little bit more than Water 7. But trust me, that's not the only One Piece arc in here, so One Piece fans don't get too rattled. But number 5, if you've read Kingdom, you know what arc this is. This arguably might be a little too low, but Coalition arc in Kingdom. How do I put this arc into words? Imagine you are this giant country, and you have strong military might, you have all these great generals, and then every single kingdom around you decides, we're going to wipe you guys off the map. And they build a giant army of all of their heavy hitters to wipe you off the map. And it is your job to fight for your lives against all of them. And that setup, the pressure of losing battles, the pressure of losing a kingdom, the pressure of everything that you hoped for and dreamed for, which is on the line, because everyone is trying to absolutely eviscerate and annihilate you. And the performances that you see from the characters, from the king. I mean, the king of, Ace, the speech that he gave to a city full of peasants, women, and children to fight and defend that city. And I'm not gonna spoil it, read Coalition. The speeches that they give in this arc make you want to get up and pick up a glaive, a knife, a sword, a shield, and just go to war and die. Like, I am not kidding when I tell you this fight between Mobu and Kanmei. If you want to feel the most testosterone you've ever felt in your life, just listen to Mobu's speech to his army. Just watch Mobu versus Kanmei and just see absolute peak masculine aggression at its apex. Dragon Ball Z, testosterone, steak and eggs, protein shakes, you got it all. It's everything. And it's Mobu versus Kanmei. Then you got Shin, you got Gohome, you got To, you got Osen, you've got Yotano pulling up, you got Duke Yo. I mean, listen guys, Coalition is Marineford on steroids. And I'm trying to tell y'all, when I tell y'all this, Coalition is Marineford on steroids. If you just like basic warfare with elite strategy, if you're a big Fire Emblem fan, you're gonna love it. Coalition was an experience to behold, and it's, to me, the best binge of an arc I've ever experienced. Ever. It is the best binge ever. Just from an arc perspective, I cannot wax lyrical enough about it. There are so many compelling moments. There's so many good subplots. So many iconic moments. I'm telling you, Mobu versus Kanmei is the iconic moment. And y'all gonna understand with that speech. But read Coalition and read Kingdom. Please, it's so good. But number 4, we have to go Marineford. Gotta do it. Marineford is, I wouldn't say it's the arc that encapsulates One Piece, but it is the most popular and it's the most iconic One Piece arc out there. There is so much that builds up to Marineford, between hearing murmurs and the lore of Whitebeard, to Ace and the reveal of who he truly is, to what happens at the very end with Ace's death, and with Luffy escaping Impel Down to save his brother, and you're seeing the 3 admirals on display for the first time, and you're seeing the entire Whitebeard pirates pulling up against the entire force of the Navy. You're seeing Sengoku, you're seeing Garp, you're seeing Mihawk and Doflamingo, and you're seeing all the heavy hitters of the One Piece world pulling up in one area outside of the Yonko, of course, to save one man who ends up being the son of the greatest criminal in the world. And then you throw Luffy in there, and Luffy is the son of the world's most dangerous criminal currently in the world. And you have this whole bonanza of weight, story, what's it called? What's the word I'm looking for? Narrative weight. You have so many major players within the story. You're seeing a living legend, your textbook old beast of an old man and Whitebeard and his Quake fruit. You're seeing One Piece in a light where it's just cruel brutality everywhere you see. You got holes in people's chests, people having heart attacks, half of people's heads being blown off, losing arms. I mean, you're seeing Mihawk try and show a little something, and you got all your favorites like Buggy and Crocodile and Shanks showing up, and the speech from Kobe, and then Blackbeard shows up out of nowhere. He gets 2 devil fruits to the street, so like, I didn't even know we could do that. And then one of the most emotional moments is Ace's death and Luffy's crash out, and the morbid crying of Luffy. Oh my god, I remember it. The anime did such a good job of depicting the horror and pain that Luffy was in. You hear Luffy's cry, and it's not, you don't want to cry, you're mortified, because it's a morbid shriek. It's morbid. It's actually really scary to see how hurt Luffy is. And then to see Jinbei pull up, you got Jinbei and Law and the old Ben Beckman and Kizaru and Marco and Garp struggling, fighting Luffy. Garp's speech to Ace, where he's like, why can't you just listen to me? And he starts crying, and we never see Garp emotional. It's Marineford number 4. Marineford number 4. I don't need to explain it anymore. It's just so good. Number 3. I don't think this is a controversial take, but some people might. But Sabaody is my number 3. And if you guys know me well, you would know why I have Sabaody number 3. The reason I love Sabaody so much is because we delve into the psychological, the socio-economical, and the human aspect of One Piece. where you're dealing with slavery, you're dealing with classism, you're dealing with racism, you're dealing with psychological weakness, you're dealing with facing weakness, you're dealing with facing your fear, you're dealing with the landscape of the world, and the world expands greatly in Sabaody, where you experience someone like Hachi, who had tormented Nami before and had a level of reverse racism towards Nami, for Nami to, one, befriend Hachi afterwards, and then see Hachi then go through the racism that he went through with St. Charles, be basically almost executed in front of him in a slavery auction house because they're about to sell off his friend to slavery, to Luffy not even considering the consequences of basically punching a royal noble and inciting a buster call, like well, not really a buster call, but inciting an admiral pulling up, because the admirals were very serious at the time, to facing the consequences of those actions, but also those consequences actually paying dividends, because Luffy loses. He loses terribly and considerably, and all these young hotshot pirates of the supernova face off against true power. Kizaru annihilates all of them. Kizaru destroys all of them. Kuma destroys all of them. And Luffy loses everyone before his very eyes. The brave bravado, oh, look at me, I got plot armor, I'm gonna Mickey my way through this entire world because I'm gonna be Pirate King. Well, not today, nigga. It didn't happen. You lost. You got washed. All of y'all got washed. And Kuma is standing there looking at him as Luffy smashes his head on the ground, is lamenting everything and is so frustrated. How could I let this happen? And seeing Luffy go through that pain and suffer those consequences are so crucial to the story, because sometimes these characters need a bit of realism, and they need some diversity, and they need something to force them to grow and to be better. And that's what Sabaody was so good at, is that it hit the human element so deeply, and it hit the problems of the world so deeply, because you saw how fishermen are viewed in a completely different lens, because we'd only seen them from the lens of Nami, but seeing them from the lens of humans, and then seeing the disgusting behavior of the celestial dragons and how they treat people, and seeing modern day slavery before your hand, and seeing the slave trade, being introduced to Silver's Rayleigh, and seeing a glimpse of Gold Roger. Sabaody just had so much to the arc that was so rich in so many ways, where it wasn't about the meatheadery, it wasn't about the action, it wasn't about the drama. The drama was there, but it was also about the lessons and the cultural understanding of the One Piece world. Sabaody is a brilliant arc. It's an excellent arc, and so it's one of the deepest arcs we have in the entire story, which is why I hold it so high. I hold it in such high regard, because I truly love it, and that's why it's in my number 3. But there's another arc that does that, but a little bit more, and that's Golden Age from Berserk. Now, arguably this should be my number 1, but I have a bias. Golden Age in Berserk is a special read. As you guys know, my favorite characters, Griffith and Guts, right? One of my top 3 favorite characters, Griffith and Guts. And I explained to you guys in that video why I love both of them so much, but Golden Age is the encapsulation of that journey. Because in Golden Age, the journey and character development of Guts and Griffith compel you throughout the entire arc. Following how they grow, following their relationship, following the Band of Hawk, following Guts create relationships with Casca and Pippin and Judal, and I think it's Rickard. It's been a while since I've read Berserk, but I need to get into it again. But seeing how he develops a relationship with all of them and finds a family and finds a place of belonging, where Guts has to defend Casca, and he fights those 100 men and he defeats those 100 men, and you see how he grows in stature and respect within the Band of Hawk. And as Griffith, this man of broad ambition, you see what he goes through and how he has to sell his body for the sake of victory. And now that he is learning everything that he can to appeal to the nobility of Midland in order to get his kingdom, to reach the status, to become the king, to have his own kingdom, and what he has to sacrifice in his relationship with Guts. As he grows, Casca becomes a little worried because she sees Guts getting closer and closer and closer to Griffith, and she can't handle that, and seeing how she has to struggle through it, all while struggling with her feelings of Guts, because she ends up being jealous of Guts, only for her to realize who Guts truly is. And now she's focused on Guts, and then all of a sudden Griffith is like, wait a minute, these are my possessions and these are keys to my kingdom, but why do I feel this way? Why am I jealous? What is up with Guts? You gotta stay with me. And Guts is also looking at Griffith, and he's like, wait a minute. We're friends. I want you to see me as an equal. I don't want to just be your whipping boy. I don't want to just be your possession. I want to stay on equal footing as you. And Griffith didn't even understand that because he was still seeing everything as his possessions until we meet a crossroad where Guts says, I need to go off on my own because I want you to view me as an equal, so we will fight and duel in order for us to get there. And then you'll respect me. I have to leave so you can respect me. And then Guts wins, and then Griffith's whole world falls apart. And then from that point on, you're seeing the whole picture that Griffith had in his mind fall apart. Everything that he believed he was fell apart in that moment. For me, the reason this arc is so strong for me is because it delves so deep into the human psyche in so many different viewpoints, from someone that had nothing and only relied on themselves that finds something, and then from someone who had everything and relied on everyone to feed that ambition for him to realize that there was something that was even more valuable than his own blind ambition that he took for granted and it lost before him. And then someone that had followed someone for so long and believed that this person was their light and is everything they needed, only to discover that there's more to the world than just this one person. And seeing how all those three came together and once the eclipse came and how that fell apart, brother, it's a beautiful story. It's a beautiful story. It is a human study. It's a psychological study. If you love medieval warfare, it is a beautiful action, beautiful fights, very harsh and dark themes as well. It has everything. It's a complete arc. You got romance in there, great romance, arguably. You got everything. It's a flawless arc to me. There's nothing wrong there is nothing I can point out in Golden Age and say it's not a 10 out of 10. It's just incredible. So the reason it's not my number one is because I'm biased, and I'm just being open. I'm just being open about that. I'm biased because my number one, you know what it is. There's only one arc. It's the Chimera Ant arc. It's the only arc to me that I can comfortably say every time someone asks, what is your number one arc? It's Chimera Ant arc, because it encapsulates everything that I love. I love psychology. I love understanding why humans do the things they do. I love human behavior. I love the art of communication. I love the art of body language. I love the art of facing your fears. I love the art of someone realizing what's been wrong with them the whole time, but they weren't able to face it. I love self-awareness. I love all of this stuff that Chimera Ant encapsulates, because Chimera Ant encapsulates humanity itself. It encapsulates humanity through the eyes of a beast, and then it encapsulates humanity in the eyes of a human, where they're realizing how dark they really are. Where when you're looking at Gon and you see this happy-go-lucky innocent boy, and he does everything with 100% willpower, and he's just gonna push through and he's never gonna give up, to a degree where he's so lost in his own drive that he sacrifices himself for something that ultimately he should never have done. And he betrays the people that he cares about the most, the people that he said he'll stand by the most. He betrays when he betrays Killua and disrespects Killua. From Meruem, who only viewed humans as meat, as viewed this world as something to subjugate, to experience something so human like love and empathy and self-awareness. It was a whole experience for him. And I think the beauty of, a lot of people hate Showerpoof, but the beauty of Showerpoof is to be able to visualize and have commentary of the changes that are going on with the king, and how Showerpoof represents what the king should be, which is this cold, calculating, dominant figure to rule the world, to the king becoming this empathetic, emotionally intelligent, socially aware, loving creature. It's the antithesis. So you get one extreme versus the other, and then you have Netero, who thinks he's gonna face this cold, calculating king, only to realize that he's facing someone that's going through a metamorphosis of slowly becoming human, to the point where he can no longer have the full will to actually try and exterminate this beast, because he had prepared his mind for weeks to fight a beast, not a human. So like that whole aspect was insane. And then to see the Chimera Ants themselves slowly understand humanity and take on more human attributes, and how the human never really dies because the soul and the spirit is always evident. And as long as the soul and the spirit is evident, therefore there can be an effect and traces of humanity within them, and how that comes in with Gyro's story, with Welfin, with Ikalgo, with Palm. I mean, oh my God, with Yuppie, the transformation of Yuppie. Listen, guys, honestly, I should just make a Chimera Ant arc video, because I'm gonna yap for hours. I'm just gonna yap. I'm just gonna sit there and yap. And I don't want to do that that to y'all because we're already at like 32 minutes as is. So guys, this is my top 10. If you want me to go into depth about these arcs that I've listed here, let me know in the comment section because I have a lot to talk about and I could really create a honestly 40-minute video on all of these. I'm not even gonna lie to y'all. So if you guys are interested in that, let me know. I'm trying to do way more content to show you guys the things that I truly love out here, and I loved making this video because I finally get to talk about the things that really impact me in this medium of anime and manga, because it means a lot to me. So if you guys have your own top 10, share it in the comment section. Let me know how you felt about your top 10. Let me know if you shared any favorite moments that I had as well, because I just want to know what you guys like as well. Like, we all like multiple stuff. It can't just be One Piece, right? So thanks for listening to me, guys. This has been a great experience, and there will be another top 10. We got top 10 frauds loading, so stay tuned for that. And until next time, ladies and gentlemen, I'm out. Take care. Peace.